Imagine stepping onto a remote island where the creatures you meet exist nowhere else on Earth. These are endemic species, living proof of nature's power to shape life through isolation. When a population becomes cut off from others by vast oceans, towering mountains, or endless deserts, evolution takes a wild and unpredictable turn. Consider the Komodo dragon, the world's largest lizard, which rules its Indonesian island home with venomous bites and immense strength. Or the lemur, found only in Madagascar, which has evolved into dozens of species, each with unique calls, colors, and habits that reflect their distinct niches. Australia's platypus, with its duckbill, webbed feet, and egg-laying ways, is another marvel born from seclusion. These creatures aren't just oddities, they're survivors, shaped by millions of years adapting to environments with no outside competition or predators. Their existence reveals nature's boundless creativity, as well as its fragility. Because if their isolated homes are threatened by human activity or climate change, so too are they. Endemic species remind us that isolation can spark life's wildest experiments, and that every hidden corner of the world holds secrets worth discovering and protecting for generations to come.
What if your ship's fate depended on a single piece of paper? In the early 1500s, Portugal dominated the Indian Ocean with a cunning invention, the Cartaz system. After Vasco da Gama's trailblazing voyage opened new sea routes, the Portuguese realized that brute force alone couldn't control the bustling spice trade. So they introduced the Cartaz, a naval pass every merchant vessel needed to sail safely through these vital waters. Without it, your ship risked being seized, your cargo confiscated, or worse. Portuguese patrols prowled the seas, inspecting ships for this official document. To obtain a Cartaz, traders paid hefty fees and agreed to strict rules, such as docking only at Portuguese-controlled ports and paying customs duties. Even powerful local traders and rival empires grudgingly complied, since defiance meant ruin or outright attack. The Cartaz system let Portugal punch above its weight, turning paper and bureaucracy into maritime might. For nearly a century, the Cartaz shaped commerce, diplomacy, and piracy across the Indian Ocean, revealing how control doesn't always come from cannons, but sometimes from clever paperwork and strategic regulation. What if a simple boundary error could birth a nation? In 1441, a border dispute between the Papal States and the Republic of Florence led to the creation of Cospaia, a tiny strip of land in central Italy. Due to a clerical mistake during treaty negotiations, this small village was omitted from both sides' maps, leaving it effectively independent. For over 400 years, Cospaia thrived as a unique, self-governing microstate. Its residents paid no taxes, had no formal rulers, and lived by the motto Perpetua et firma libertas, perpetual and firm liberty. This accidental freedom attracted people seeking refuge from authorities, turning Cospaia into a haven for those fleeing control. Remarkably, it became one of the earliest centers for tobacco cultivation in Italy, as growing tobacco was banned in surrounding regions. Smugglers and traders flocked to its fields, and Cospaia prospered by exploiting this legal loophole. Despite its tiny size, the village maintained its independence until 1826, when its residents agreed to join neighboring territories. Cospaia's story is a fascinating example of how a simple mistake can shape centuries of history, an unlikely experiment in liberty nestled between powerful rivals. What if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, the Greeks built a device so complex, it wouldn't be rivaled for a millennium? Deep beneath the waters near the Greek island of Antikythera, divers in 1901 stumbled upon a shipwreck and a mysterious corroded object. What they had found was the Antikythera mechanism, a sophisticated assembly of bronze gears and dials, often called the world's first analog computer. This device could predict astronomical positions and eclipses with astonishing accuracy. By turning a hand crank, users tracked solar and lunar cycles, the timing of the Olympic Games, and even planetary movements. Its gears were precisely cut, some as small as a modern wristwatch, revealing advanced craftsmanship lost to history. For decades, its true purpose eluded scientists, until X-ray imaging unveiled its intricate design and complex gear trains. The Antikythera mechanism is a remarkable testament to the ingenuity of ancient minds, challenging our assumptions about the technological capabilities of the ancient world and inspiring awe at the sophistication achieved so long ago.
Imagine a world where your bank account is too heavy to move, literally. On the tiny island of Yap in Micronesia, the locals use massive limestone discs called rhinestones as currency. Some are so large they can't be carried, standing taller than a person. But here's the twist. Ownership isn't about physical possession. When a rhinestone changes hands, the new owner may never touch or move it. Instead, everyone in the community simply agrees on who owns which stone. If a stone is lost at sea or hidden deep in the jungle, its value and ownership persist, because everyone remembers its story and the journey it took to arrive. Transactions are public, and honesty is paramount. If someone tries to falsely claim a stone, the entire system would collapse. This remarkable system works not because of physical security, but because of a shared belief in fairness and trust. The people of Yap show us that sometimes the true value of money isn't in what you can hold, but in what you can trust others to remember and honor. Imagine stumbling upon a single object that holds the key to unlocking the secrets of a forgotten civilization. In 1799, French soldiers in Egypt uncovered just such an object, a black basalt slab inscribed with mysterious writing. This stone, later named the Rosetta Stone, would become the linchpin in deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, a puzzle that had baffled scholars for centuries. What made this stone extraordinary was not just its age, but its text. The same message written in 3 scripts: Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic. Scholars could read the Greek, a language still known at the time, and began matching Greek words to the strange symbols above. Through painstaking comparison and brilliant insight, Jean-François Champollion finally cracked the code in 1822, revealing names, stories, and histories long thought lost. This breakthrough didn't just resurrect a language, it opened a window into the beliefs, achievements, and daily life of an entire civilization, reshaping our understanding of the ancient world and inspiring generations of researchers to explore the mysteries of the past.
What if every choice you made came with a visible price tag? Imagine that before you hit snooze, grab that coffee, or scroll through your phone, a tag appears, showing exactly what that decision will cost you. Not just in money, but in time, energy, or even missed opportunities. Would you still spend an hour on social media if you saw it cost you a chance to learn a new skill or connect deeply with someone? Would you buy that trendy new gadget if you knew it meant sacrificing a future adventure or financial security? Suddenly, every action becomes a transaction, and the invisible costs become visible. This world forces us to confront the true value of our routines, habits, and impulses. Some might become more mindful, carefully weighing each option with newfound clarity and purpose. Others might feel overwhelmed, realizing how quickly small choices accumulate into significant consequences. Relationships, careers, and passions could all shift as people prioritize what truly matters, guided by the real cost of their decisions. Would you become more intentional, or would the constant awareness of cost make life feel less spontaneous and more calculated? How would this change the way you live each day?
Imagine waking up to find your city in chaos, not from war or famine, but from uncontrollable, frenzied movement. In July 1518, the streets of Strasbourg, now in France, became the stage for one of history's strangest outbreaks. It began with a single woman who suddenly started dancing in the street, unable to stop. Within days, dozens joined her, then hundreds, all caught in a relentless, compulsive rhythm. Men, women, and even children moved day and night, their bodies racked with exhaustion but still compelled to continue. Some collapsed from sheer fatigue, and reports claim several even died from heart attack or stroke. Authorities, baffled and desperate, sought help from doctors, who dismissed supernatural causes and blamed hot blood or imbalance of humors. Their unusual solution? They encouraged more dancing, believing it would help the afflicted dance out the illness. Musicians were hired, and platforms were built to accommodate the growing crowd. The mania lasted for weeks before fading as mysteriously as it began. To this day, no one truly knows what caused this bizarre phenomenon. Mass hysteria, ergot poisoning from contaminated rye, or collective stress remain debated theories. The event remains one of history's most curious and baffling mysteries.
What if you could see motivation? Imagine every person's drive and determination glowing around them in vibrant, shifting auras that pulse with intensity. Walking into a room, you'd instantly sense who's fired up, whose energy is fading, and who's on the verge of a breakthrough. How would this change the way we select teammates, collaborators, or even friends? Would leaders instinctively seek out those with the brightest, most radiant colors to form unstoppable groups? Or would the pressure to always shine lead some to mask their true feelings, hiding their auras beneath a veil? In moments of challenge, a flickering or dimming aura might rally support or invite doubt and skepticism. The constant need to maintain a radiant glow could push some individuals to new heights of achievement, while others might struggle under the relentless scrutiny. Would we grow more empathetic, reaching out to help those whose colors have dimmed? Or would we judge too quickly, overlooking the quiet resolve and steady determination that burns beneath the surface? If motivation were visible, our world would transform into a living canvas of ambition, resilience, and vulnerability, forever changing how we interact, perform, and connect with one another.
What happens when thousands of heroes are denied the promise they fought for? In the summer of 1932, Washington, D.C. became the stage for one of the most dramatic protests in American history. Nearly 20,000 World War I veterans, many with families in tow, converged on the Capitol, demanding early payment of bonuses promised for their wartime service, money desperately needed during the crushing hardships of the Great Depression. They built a sprawling tent city known as the Bonus Army, braving sweltering heat, poverty, and uncertain futures. Despite their peaceful pleas and growing numbers, Congress rejected their request, deepening their despair. As weeks passed, tensions soared, and the government, fearing unrest and political fallout, ordered the military to clear the camps. Under orders from President Hoover, troops led by General Douglas MacArthur, armed with tanks, cavalry, and tear gas, forcefully evicted the veterans. Fires engulfed their makeshift shelters, and the nation watched in shock as those who had served their country were treated harshly. The Bonus Army's struggle left a lasting mark on American history, influencing future policy and reshaping how the nation honors and supports its veterans.
What if you could instantly master any skill simply by watching someone do it? Picture observing a chef craft a perfect souffle, a guitarist shred a solo, or an artist painting a masterpiece, and in moments, the knowledge becomes yours. The world would transform overnight. Expertise would no longer be exclusive. Anyone could become a virtuoso, an athlete, or a craftsman at will. Imagine the surge in creativity as barriers to entry vanish and people explore countless new possibilities. But what about the value of mastery? If everyone can acquire skills instantly, would years of dedicated practice still hold meaning? The pride in personal progress might fade, replaced by a relentless chase for the next new ability. Industries built around teaching and mentorship would need to reinvent themselves or risk becoming obsolete. Yet, innovation could soar. With more minds equipped to experiment, new forms of art, music, and design could emerge at an unprecedented pace. The social landscape would shift too. Collaboration might eclipse competition, as sharing becomes the fastest way to spread talent and ideas. Would we find fulfillment in endless acquisition, or would true satisfaction lie in the journey, now lost to instant gratification? How would this reshape our sense of identity and purpose?
What if one ship could connect two continents, reshaping the world forever? From 1565 to 1815, the Manila Galleon trade linked the Philippines and Mexico, forging a vibrant bridge between Asia and the Americas. Each year, massive Spanish galleons braved the vast Pacific Ocean, carrying Asian goods, silk, porcelain, spices, from Manila to Acapulco. In return, silver and other treasures flowed back to Asia, fueling economies across both hemispheres. This daring voyage, often lasting 4 months, was fraught with violent storms, pirates, and the unknown. Yet it created a global network centuries before the term globalization existed. The bustling markets of Mexico City dazzled with Chinese silk, while Filipino towns sparkled with American silver coins. The Manila galleon didn't just move cargo, it carried people, ideas, and culture, blending east and west in unexpected ways. This forgotten maritime route quietly rewrote world history, showing how a single trade link could transform distant lands and lives, laying early foundations for a connected world.
What if the tiniest architects of our world suddenly matched us in intelligence? Picture a universe where beings that crawl, fly, or swarm possess the same reasoning, creativity, and ambition as humans. Cities might stretch vertically, woven from silk and resin hidden in plain sight. Communication would transcend chemicals, evolving into complex languages, intricate art, and perhaps even philosophy. These new thinkers could reshape technology, using miniature engineering to construct devices beyond our imagination. But the balance of power would shift. Would coexistence be possible, or would competition for resources ignite unprecedented conflict? Imagine negotiations between species, treaties drafted in microscript, or alliances that span the treetops and tunnels beneath our feet. The environment itself might transform as these beings innovate agriculture and architecture. Our perception of intelligence, society, and even the meaning of civilization would be forever altered. Would we adapt, collaborate, or compete in this new world order? The possibilities challenge everything we know about life and consciousness. What if sound waves could eliminate unwanted particles from our environment? Picture walking into a room filled with dust or allergens, and instead of reaching for sprays or devices, you simply activate a carefully tuned sound system. The air vibrates with inaudible frequencies, and like a conductor leading an orchestra, these waves gather and push particles out of the space. Hospitals could become safer with operating rooms kept pristine by acoustic technology, reducing infection risks. Factories might rely on sonic pulses to maintain particle-free equipment, boosting efficiency and lifespan. Even in our homes, a gentle hum could keep surfaces and air clear of irritants, transforming how we approach health and comfort. But what about the unexpected? Would such power affect pets or delicate objects? Could misuse disrupt ecosystems, scattering not just dust but beneficial microbes? The possibilities raise ethical and scientific questions, challenging us to consider how harnessing sound for this purpose could reshape our world for better or for worse. Imagine the future, silence but cleaner than ever. What if every written word had physical weight? Imagine jotting a note and feeling your notebook grow heavier with each sentence, the burden of your thoughts pressing down in your hands. Libraries would transform into fortresses of mass, their shelves groaning under the bulk of accumulated stories, histories, and secrets spanning centuries. Authors might struggle to finish a novel, burdened not only by creative blocks, but by the literal heaviness of their creativity. School bags would become tests of strength, with every essay, worksheet, and textbook adding to their load. Even digital devices wouldn't escape. Typing an email or sending a message would incrementally weigh down your phone or laptop, making concise communication more valuable than ever before. Would society begin to cherish brevity, or would we invent new ways to manage this invisible load? Perhaps the most profound change would be in our appreciation for what we choose to record. Every diary entry, every declaration, every piece of documentation would be a conscious decision, weighed not just in meaning, but in grams and kilograms. Would you still write as much, knowing your words could literally weigh you down, shaping not only your thoughts but your physical world?
What if a single battle could change the course of world history? In 751 CE, on the banks of the Talas River in Central Asia, two mighty empires collided: the Abbasid Caliphate from the west and the Tang dynasty from the east. The stakes were enormous: the control of lucrative trade routes and the cultural heart of the Silk Road. The clash was fierce, with thousands of soldiers and cavalry charging across the vast steppe. In a dramatic twist, local Karluk mercenaries, initially allied with the Tang, switched sides mid-battle, tipping the balance decisively in favor of the Abbasids. The Tang forces retreated, marking the westernmost expansion of Chinese influence and signaling the rise of Islamic power in Central Asia. But the true legacy of Talas was not just military. According to legend, captured Chinese artisans revealed the secrets of papermaking to the Abbasids. This knowledge spread rapidly across the Islamic world, revolutionizing record-keeping, science, literature, and administration. The Battle of Talas, often overlooked, was a pivotal turning point that set the stage for centuries of cultural and technological exchange between East and West, shaping the development of civilizations along the Silk Road and beyond. Have you ever wondered what it takes for an entire community to vanish completely? In August 1930, the last residents of St. Kilda left behind their windswept stone cottages, marking the end of centuries of human life on this remote outpost in the North Atlantic. For generations, the people here lived in near-total isolation, relying on seabirds, sheep, and remarkable ingenuity to survive in a harsh environment. Their daily existence was shaped by fierce storms, towering cliffs, and a culture unlike any other in Europe. As the 20th century advanced, however, the population steadily dwindled. Disease outbreaks, chronic food shortages, and the lure of modern conveniences on the mainland eroded their numbers. When a particularly harsh winter struck, followed by a series of personal tragedies, the remaining 36 inhabitants petitioned for evacuation, realizing they could no longer sustain their traditional way of life. On August 29, 1930, they sailed away, leaving behind a haunting legacy of resilience and adaptation. Their abandoned homes and windswept fields remain a silent testament to a lost world, echoing with stories of survival, community bonds, and the relentless power of nature that shaped their extraordinary existence.
What if every written word had physical weight? Imagine jotting a note and feeling your notebook grow heavier with each sentence, the burden of your thoughts pressing down in your hands. Libraries would transform into fortresses of mass, their shelves groaning under the bulk of accumulated stories, histories, and secrets spanning centuries. Authors might struggle to finish a novel, burdened not only by creative blocks, but by the literal heaviness of their creativity. School bags would become tests of strength, with every essay, worksheet, and textbook adding to their load. Even digital devices wouldn't escape. Typing an email or sending a message would incrementally weigh down your phone or laptop, making concise communication more valuable than ever before. Would society begin to cherish brevity, or would we invent new ways to manage this invisible load? Perhaps the most profound change would be in our appreciation for what we choose to record. Every diary entry, every declaration, every piece of documentation would be a conscious decision, weighed not just in meaning, but in grams and kilograms. Would you still write as much, knowing your words could literally weigh you down, shaping not only your thoughts but your physical world?
What if the fiercest warriors on the battlefield fought not just for glory, but for the love of the person standing beside them? Meet the Sacred Band of Thebes, an elite unit of 300 hand-picked soldiers, each pair bound by a powerful personal relationship. In an era dominated by massive armies, this unique force was built on the belief that lovers, fighting side by side, would be unstoppable. Their courage was legendary. For decades, the Sacred Band led their city's armies to stunning victories, even toppling the most feared military power of the time. Their discipline and unity made them a formidable force, feared across the region. But their defining moment came at the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BCE. Facing an overwhelming enemy led by a young, ambitious conqueror, the Sacred Band refused to retreat. Surrounded and outnumbered, they fought to the very end, their stand so valiant that even their foes honored their memory. Archaeologists later uncovered their burial site, the remains still lying side by side, a silent testament to their unbreakable bond. This is the story of warriors whose loyalty and love shaped history, proving that the strongest armies are built on trust and devotion. What happens when humans dare to rise above the clouds, to the very edge of our world? In the late 1950s, Project Manhigh pushed the limits of human exploration, sending brave pilots skyward in sealed gondolas suspended beneath gigantic helium balloons. These flights, conducted by the U.S. Air Force, aimed to study how humans might survive in the extreme conditions found near the top of Earth's atmosphere. Ascending to astonishing heights of over 97,000 feet, participants like Joseph Kittinger experienced a surreal world where the sky turned pitch black and the curve of Earth became clearly visible. The air was so thin that pressure suits were essential to survival, protecting pilots from near-vacuum conditions. Onboard instruments measured cosmic rays, temperature, and physiological responses, providing invaluable data. Project Manhigh not only revealed the physical and psychological challenges of such heights, but also paved the way for future high-altitude endeavors. These missions proved humans could endure the hostile frontier just below space, and the data collected influenced the design of protective gear and life support systems for generations of explorers to come. Imagine being forced to deny what you see through your own telescope. In 1633, Galileo Galilei, a brilliant mathematician and astronomer, stood before the Roman Inquisition. His crime? Supporting the idea that Earth revolved around the sun, a theory that contradicted centuries of traditional belief. Galileo's detailed observations of Jupiter's moons and the complex motions of the planets challenged the established worldview, threatening the authority of those who claimed to hold absolute truth. The Church demanded that Galileo abandon his findings, fearing that accepting them would unravel the foundations of their power and disrupt the accepted order. Under intense pressure, Galileo famously recanted, uttering, according to legend, "And yet it moves." But the trial was more than a personal defeat. It marked a turning point where evidence and reason clashed with inherited authority and dogma. Galileo spent his final years confined under house arrest, yet his courage inspired generations to question, to seek, and to challenge accepted norms. The echoes of his stand still shape our pursuit of knowledge and the way we understand the world today. What if I told you that one of history's strangest battles ended before the enemy even arrived? In 1788, during the Austro-Turkish War, the Austrian army camped near the town of Karansebes, preparing for an expected Ottoman attack. The troops were a diverse mix of ethnicities and languages, which fueled misunderstandings. One night, a group of Austrian cavalry crossed the river to scout for the enemy, but instead found local traders selling schnapps. Soon, infantrymen joined, eager for a drink after days of tension. Arguments broke out over the alcohol, escalating into shots fired. In the darkness and confusion, rumors spread that the Ottomans were attacking. Panic overtook the camp. Shouts of "Turks! Turks!" echoed through the night as soldiers fired blindly at shadows, and tragically at each other. Officers struggled to restore order, but chaos had taken hold. The terrified troops stampeded, trampling comrades and abandoning their positions. By dawn, hundreds were dead or wounded, all without a single Ottoman shot fired. The Battle of Karansebes remains a bizarre and tragic example of how fear, miscommunication, and confusion can turn an army against itself, altering the course of history without a true enemy ever engaging. Did you know a single battle nearly shattered the Roman Empire? In 394 CE, the tranquil valley of the Frigidus River became the stage for a dramatic showdown that would decide Rome's fate. Two emperors, Theodosius I ruling the east, and Eugenius, backed by the powerful general Arbogast in the west, clashed in a brutal struggle for supremacy. This conflict was more than a political power play. It was a fierce collision of ideologies, with Theodosius championing Christianity, while Eugenius was supported by pagan factions seeking to restore their influence. For 2 grueling days, the armies battled fiercely, battered by freezing winds that many believed were summoned by divine forces. Theodosius's forces, initially overwhelmed and pushed back, rallied as the winds shifted, turning the tide and scattering the western ranks. Theodosius emerged victorious, reunifying the empire under a single Christian ruler. Yet the cost was immense. The Western army was decimated, and the deep divisions within the empire were only intensified. The aftermath of the Battle of the Frigidus set in motion events that would ultimately lead to the permanent split of the empire, a division whose echoes shaped the course of European history for centuries to come. What would you do if your job slowly destroyed your health, yet you had no choice but to keep working? In the late 1800s, match factories across Europe and America glowed with the eerie light of progress. But inside, workers, mostly young women and girls, were exposed daily to white phosphorus, a chemical used to make matches ignite. Over time, many developed a horrifying condition called phossy jaw. Their jawbones would swell, rot, and sometimes even glow faintly in the dark, while the pain was excruciating and relentless. The cause was the inhalation of phosphorus fumes, which attacked the bones and tissues of the face, leading to severe disfigurement and disability. Despite mounting cases and clear evidence, factory owners often ignored the suffering, prioritizing profits over people's well-being. Public outrage grew as the grotesque effects came to light through newspapers and medical reports. Brave workers began to speak out, organizing strikes and demanding safer conditions. Investigations followed, revealing the true cost of cheap matches. Ultimately, international reforms banned white phosphorus in match production, replacing it with safer alternatives and protecting future generations. The tragedy of phossy jaw stands as a grim reminder of the hidden human costs behind everyday objects we often take for granted. Imagine a world war where every message is a secret puzzle, unsolvable, or so the enemy believed. In 1943, a dedicated team of cryptanalysts at Bletchley Park achieved what many thought impossible. They cracked the German Enigma code. This cipher machine, used extensively by Nazi forces, encrypted military communications with such complexity that it was considered unbreakable. At the forefront was Alan Turing, whose mathematical brilliance and relentless determination led to the creation of the bomb, an electromechanical device designed specifically to unravel Enigma's secrets. Each intercepted message was a race against time as German operators changed the code daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Breaking these codes meant more than just reading messages. It allowed Allied forces to anticipate submarine attacks, reroute convoys, and save countless lives across the Atlantic. The 1943 breakthrough marked a crucial turning point in WW2, transforming the flow of information and shifting the balance of power in favor of the Allies. This monumental achievement in code-breaking remained a closely guarded secret for decades, with its profound impact on the war's outcome only becoming widely known many years later.
Imagine rural France in 1793. The countryside is ablaze, not with revolution, but with fierce resistance. In the Vendée, a deeply Catholic and royalist region, ordinary peasants, local priests, and even nobles united to defy the sweeping changes unleashed by the French Revolution. When the revolutionary government imposed conscription on young men and sought to suppress religious traditions, the people of the Vendée rose up in rebellion. They formed the Catholic and Royal Army, armed with whatever they could find: pitchforks, muskets, and an unshakable conviction. Their rallying cry, God and King. For over 3 years, these rural rebels waged a brutal guerrilla war against the Republic's professional forces. The Vendéens achieved shocking victories, capturing towns and repelling well-trained armies. Yet the government's response was merciless, a scorched earth campaign that burned villages and claimed thousands of lives. The Vendée Rebellion remains a powerful testament to the determination of ordinary people to fight for their beliefs, shaping history through blood and fire. Imagine facing a wall of shields, spears glinting in the African sun. This was the Impi, Shaka Zulu's revolutionary fighting force. In the early 1800s, Shaka transformed warfare in southern Africa with tactics that stunned enemies and reshaped the region's power dynamics. Instead of the old way of hurling spears from a distance, Shaka introduced the deadly Iklewa, a short stabbing spear designed for brutal close combat. He drilled his warriors relentlessly, teaching them to move in silence, strike quickly, and maintain unbreakable formation. His most famous tactic was the buffalo horns formation. The head smashed into the enemy's center, the horns encircled them from the sides, and the loins, the reserves, finished the fight. This three-pronged attack created chaos and left opponents helpless and disoriented. Shaka's warriors ran barefoot for miles, strengthened by tough discipline, rigorous training, and absolute loyalty. Under his leadership, the Zulu became a force no rival could ignore, carving a powerful kingdom from regional chaos. Shaka's legacy lives on, his innovative tactics still studied by military minds around the world today. Imagine hearing the eerie whir of wooden biplanes overhead in the dead of night. That sound meant the night witches were coming. These fearless women of the Soviet 588th Night Bomber Regiment flew outdated Polikarpov Po-2 planes against Nazi forces during World War II. Their planes had no radios, no parachutes, and were made of canvas and plywood, making them easy targets. Yet, under the cover of darkness, these pilots cut their engines and glided silently above enemy lines, dropping bombs with pinpoint accuracy. The Nazis dreaded them so much, they called them Nachthexen, night witches, and believed catching one meant instant Iron Cross. What made their missions even more astonishing? Each pilot flew up to 8 missions a night, braving freezing temperatures, fierce anti-aircraft fire, and enemy fighters. Despite the odds, the Night Witches completed over 23,000 sorties and became the most decorated female unit in the Soviet Air Force. Their bravery shattered gender barriers and left a legacy of courage and determination that continues to inspire people around the world today.
What if eating became a purely virtual experience? Picture a world where you slip on a headset and are instantly transported to a lavish banquet. You see, smell, and taste your favorite dishes, yet nothing ever passes your lips. With simulated taste and satisfaction, would the act of eating change forever? The implications are fascinating. Cravings could be satisfied without physical consumption, potentially transforming how we relate to pleasure and desire. Would people still gather for meals, or would social dining become obsolete? If overindulgence carries no physical consequence, would self-control fade, or would new forms of discipline emerge? Virtual eating could revolutionize how we celebrate, bond, or even cope with stress. But could the mind be truly fooled long-term, or would the lack of real substance leave us longing for genuine experiences? This scenario challenges us to rethink the role of food in our lives, not just as sustenance, but as a source of connection, comfort, and culture. Would simulated satisfaction nourish us in the same way, or would we miss something irreplaceable? What if every dust particle floating in the air was more than just a speck? What if it held a hidden memory, a fragment of someone's laughter, a secret, a long-lost moment? Imagine brushing your hand across an old bookshelf and suddenly reliving a stranger's childhood, or catching a fleeting scent that triggers a vivid vision from decades ago. If memories were embedded in these tiny particles, history would drift through our homes, our cities, our lives, accessible with every breath we take. Would privacy vanish as the past became accessible in the very air we share? Museums might catalog rooms of ancient dust, offering immersive glimpses into lost civilizations and forgotten lives. Forensic investigations could reconstruct events by analyzing what lingers invisibly in the air. But what about the emotional weight? Would we be haunted by old sorrows and joys, unable to distinguish our own memories from those left behind? Society might become obsessed with collecting or purifying these particles, seeking truth, escape, or even control. Would you embrace the memories swirling around you, letting them shape your reality, or try to keep your world untouched, preserving the boundary between past and present?
What could possibly happen if you threw someone out of a window? In 1618, Bohemian nobles, angered by increasing religious oppression and political interference from Catholic officials, confronted 2 royal governors and their secretary inside Prague Castle. In a bold and shocking move, the nobles seized the 3 men, marched them to a 3rd-story window, and hurled them out. Miraculously, all 3 survived the fall. Some claimed they landed in a pile of manure. Others believed it was divine protection. Yet the true significance lay not in their survival, but in the explosive consequences that followed. This event, known as the Defenestration of Prague, ignited a conflict that would engulf much of Europe. What began as a protest over religious freedoms and political autonomy escalated into the 30 Years' War, a devastating struggle involving multiple European powers and resulting in millions of deaths. The Prague window toss remains a powerful symbol of how a single daring act can unleash forces that reshape the course of history forever. What if a single flower could make or break fortunes overnight? In the Dutch Republic, an obsession with tulip bulbs spiraled into one of history's strangest economic episodes. Tulips, newly introduced from the Ottoman Empire, became a coveted status symbol. Their vivid colors and unique patterns sent prices soaring, with rare bulbs fetching more than a skilled artisan's yearly wage. People from all walks of life, merchants, artisans, even farmers, jumped into the frenzied market, trading bulbs as if they were gold. Some contracts for rare tulips changed hands dozens of times before the bulb even bloomed, creating a speculative frenzy unlike anything before. At the peak, a single Semper Augustus tulip could buy a luxury home on Amsterdam's finest canal. But in early 1637, the bubble suddenly burst. Buyers vanished, prices collapsed, and fortunes evaporated overnight, leaving many in financial ruin. Tulip mania stands as a timeless warning about the dangers of unchecked speculation and the unpredictable power of collective human behavior. It's a vivid reminder. Sometimes, the wildest investment fads grow from the most unexpected seeds, forever shaping economic history.
What if our bodies could store extra energy like batteries? Picture this. After a big meal or a restful night, you could bank surplus energy, ready to be tapped into whenever you need a boost. Late night study session? Power up from your reserves. Long hike ahead? Activate your energy storage, bypassing fatigue. The daily rush for snacks or mid-afternoon slumps could vanish. Athletes might train to maximize their storage capacity, revolutionizing sports performance. Emergency responders could activate reserves in crisis situations, pushing past normal limits. But what about the flip side? Would people compete to hoard energy, or would there be social pressure to always stay fully charged? Could this lead to unexpected disparities or new industries focused on energy optimization? Even leisure could change. No more worrying about running low during adventures or travel. Would our lifestyles become even busier, knowing fatigue is easily overridden? Or would we discover new ways to balance activity and rest? This scenario invites us to rethink the rhythms of life, challenging our assumptions about limits and possibility.
Imagine a tidal wave, not of water, but of thick, sticky molasses racing through city streets. On January 15, 1919, residents of Boston's North End heard a thunderous roar as a massive storage tank holding over 2 million gallons of molasses burst without warning. The resulting wave, reaching speeds of 35 miles per hour and heights of up to 25 feet, swept through the neighborhood with unstoppable force. Buildings were smashed, a firehouse was knocked off its foundation, and horses, people, and vehicles were swept away in the sticky deluge. 21 people lost their lives, and over 150 were injured in this uniquely bizarre disaster. Rescue workers struggled in the knee-deep molasses, which was so thick it slowed their movements and made rescue efforts extremely difficult. Cleanup took months as the syrup hardened in the cold winter air, coating streets and buildings. Investigations revealed poor construction and inadequate safety measures caused the tank to fail. The tragedy led to stricter regulations for industrial safety in the United States, changing how large storage tanks were built and inspected. To this day, some locals say you can still catch a faint whiff of molasses on hot summer days where the flood occurred.
In the shadows of the Archean Nebula, the obsidian colossals walk as living legends. Once a proud warrior caste, their civilization was shattered in cosmic upheaval, leaving only the fiercest to survive. Driven by a code older than the stars themselves, these towering felinoids rebuilt their identity from the ruins, forging a reputation that inspires both awe and dread across countless star systems. Their obsidian black muscles ripple beneath bioluminescent scars, each mark a testament to battles fought and honor fiercely reclaimed. Clad in ceremonial armor etched with ancient symbols, they wield plasma mauls, massive war hammers that hum with violet energy, capable of shattering starship hulls and igniting the very air around them. Their society is structured like ancient prides. Dominance is earned in spectacular combat rites, witnessed beneath starlit domes and sealed with feasts on platinum platters. The Colossals do not chase credits or territory for mere gain. Every strike, alliance, and ritual is a deliberate step toward restoring their lost legacy, imposing a fierce code of honor that echoes throughout the galactic underworld. Their dens are grand halls adorned with cosmic tapestries, where trade deals and alliances are forged over exotic elixirs. Rivals fear their thunderous charges and the ritualistic display of strength that precedes every conflict. The Obsidian Colossals are not just enforcers, they are living legends, shaping the galaxy's underworld with every calculated strike. In the heart of their star-forged dens, the Obsidian Colossals enact ritualistic combat rites that define their very existence. These dominance battles are more than mere contests of strength. They are sacred ceremonies where honor, hierarchy, and belonging are on the line. Challengers and reigning champions circle beneath starlit domes, their obsidian muscles gleaming as the air vibrates with anticipation. The duel begins with a thunderous roar and the ceremonial clash of plasma mauls, violet arcs illuminating cosmic tapestries. Each strike is a test not just of power, but of discipline and ancestral technique. Victory is claimed not by brute force alone, but by demonstrating restraint, creativity, and unwavering resolve. Once dominance is decided, the victor is crowned with a mantle woven from the nebula's rarest silks, and feasts commence on platinum platters. These rites are witnessed by the entire Pride, forging unbreakable bonds and ensuring that only the most worthy lead. In every ceremony, the Colossals renew their ancient code and ignite the legend that shapes the Arxian underworld. In the heart of their star-forged dens, the Obsidian Colossals enact ritualistic combat rites that define their very existence. These dominance battles are more than mere contests of strength. They are sacred ceremonies where honor, hierarchy, and belonging are on the line. Challengers and reigning champions circle beneath starlit domes, their obsidian muscles gleaming as the air vibrates with anticipation. The duel begins with a thunderous roar and the ceremonial clash of plasma mauls, violet arcs illuminating cosmic tapestries. Each strike is a test not just of power, but of discipline and ancestral technique. Victory is claimed not by brute force alone, but by demonstrating restraint, creativity, and unwavering resolve. Once dominance is decided, the victor is crowned with a mantle woven from the nebula's rarest silks, and feasts commence on platinum platters. These rites are witnessed by the entire Pride, forging unbreakable bonds and ensuring that only the most worthy lead. In every ceremony, the Colossals renew their ancient code and ignite the legend that shapes the Arxian underworld. In the shadowy halls of the Obsidian Colossals, exotic elixirs are far more than intoxicating beverages. They are the currency of trust and power. Each elixir is meticulously crafted from rare ingredients harvested on perilous expeditions. Nebular orchids that bloom only in zero gravity, crystallized starlight gathered from dying suns, and the venom of the iridescent void asp, a creature as elusive as it is deadly. Their shimmering hues and volatile aromas set the stage for high-stakes diplomacy and intricate negotiations. When rival factions arrive beneath the starlit domes, the presentation of an elixir signals goodwill, respect, and a willingness to engage in honorable discourse. A single sip can seal alliances or dissolve long-standing vendettas, as the flavors are laced with deep ceremonial meaning, bitterness for honesty, sweetness for loyalty, and a hint of spice for shared ambition and future endeavors. The Colossals' trade in these rare elixirs extends across the galaxy, where these coveted drinks fetch immense fortunes and grant access to forbidden markets otherwise closed to outsiders. To share an elixir is to invite another into the Pride's inner circle, a sacred ritual that binds guests in mutual obligation and unspoken trust. For the Obsidian Colossals, every deal is toasted with a draft of legend, ensuring their influence flows as freely and powerfully as their prized elixirs, weaving their legacy into the very fabric of galactic underworld politics. Beneath the shimmering expanse of the Archean Nebula, the obsidian colossals construct their legendary dens, cathedral-like domes that fuse brutal engineering with celestial beauty. Each dome is forged from meteoric obsidian, harvested from dead stars and meticulously shaped by searing plasma forges. The architecture stands as a testament to their immense power. Immense arches soar overhead, lined with veins of iridescent crystal that pulse rhythmically in harmony with the nebula's shifting light. At the center of each dome, a massive oculus opens directly to the stars, allowing cosmic rays to flood the hall and illuminate intricate cosmic tapestries that vividly depict the colossals' storied past and epic battles. Structural supports mimic the sinewy, muscular forms of their own bodies, blending raw function with deep reverence for their ancient lineage. The acoustics are engineered so that every footfall, every battle cry, reverberates with thunderous authority throughout the vast chamber. Platinum banquet tables and polished obsidian thrones flank the grand hall, while shadowed alcoves hold priceless relics of conquest and honor. These starry domes are far more than mere dens. They are sanctuaries, impregnable fortresses, and monumental tributes to the colossal's unyielding legacy and indomitable spirit.
What if rest was recognized as a superpower? Picture a world where the ability to pause, recharge, and truly unwind is celebrated as much as speed or strength. Imagine job interviews where candidates proudly declare their mastery of napping or their skill in crafting the perfect evening routine that restores their energy. Sports teams might draft players not just for agility or endurance, but for their talent in bouncing back quickly after intense games. In schools, children could earn awards for the quality and consistency of their downtime, and society would view taking breaks as a mark of wisdom and resilience, not laziness or weakness. In this reality, productivity would be measured not only by output, but by how well one could recover and sustain energy over time. Creativity would flourish as minds given true downtime spark with fresh, innovative ideas. Relationships would deepen, since people would have the patience, empathy, and clarity that come from real recuperation. Instead of glorifying nonstop hustle, we'd respect those who know when to stop and recharge. Perhaps, in this world, burnout would become a relic of the past, and true strength would be redefined as the courage and discipline to rest well and often.
What if a simple computer glitch could bring the world to a standstill? As the year 2000 approached, experts warned that millions of computers worldwide might misinterpret the date change from 99 to 00, threatening to crash vital systems. This looming threat was the infamous Y2K bug, rooted in early programming that abbreviated years to 2 digits to save memory. Banks feared errors in transactions, airlines worried about faulty navigation, and even nuclear power plants scrambled to check their safety protocols. Governments and corporations poured billions into urgent upgrades and frantic code reviews, mobilizing thousands of programmers globally. All eyes were on midnight, December 31st, 1999, as people stocked up on supplies, expecting anything from power outages to financial chaos. Behind the scenes, programmers worked around the clock, rewriting and testing countless lines of code to prevent disaster. When the clock struck 12, the world held its breath. Miraculously, disaster was averted. The planes flew, the lights stayed on, and daily life continued uninterrupted. The Y2K bug became a testament to human ingenuity and the quiet heroes who protected the digital foundations of modern civilization.
What if technology allowed us to harvest energy from dreams? Imagine a world where the wild adventures, emotions, and vivid landscapes conjured in your sleep could be transformed into real, usable power. Every night, billions of people generate intricate mental worlds. What if those neural fireworks could be tapped as a new energy source? Would society encourage deeper, more imaginative dreaming? Perhaps schools would teach lucid dreaming to maximize output, and creative minds would become prized assets. The line between rest and productivity would blur, as sleep becomes a time not only for recovery, but for contributing to a global energy grid. Would people compete for the most imaginative dreams, or would technology monitor dream content for efficiency? Ethical questions would arise. How much of our subconscious would we allow to be mined? Could nightmares become dangerous surges, or would peaceful dreams provide the cleanest energy? Ultimately, this scenario invites us to reconsider the hidden value of our inner worlds and the possibilities that emerge when imagination fuels more than just the mind. What if every tactical decision in a high-stakes arena was made not by a single leader, but by the synchronized brainwaves of an entire team? Imagine players wearing neural headbands, their thoughts and instincts feeding into a central AI that instantly reads the collective intent. Instead of shouting instructions or relying on preset plans, the group's shared focus and emotional state would drive real-time strategy. A surge of confidence could trigger a bold maneuver, while hesitation might prompt a defensive shift. Team chemistry would take on a whole new meaning. Success would depend not just on skill, but on mental harmony. Would teams train to synchronize their minds as much as their bodies, developing exercises to align thoughts and emotions? Could a single distracted or anxious thought throw everything off, causing ripple effects that disrupt the entire plan? Spectators might witness a new kind of drama, the visible ebb and flow of unity and discord, as every mental ripple impacts the outcome. This scenario challenges us to consider how technology could amplify collaboration, blur individuality, and redefine the very nature of teamwork in ways never imagined before. What if every tactical decision in a high-stakes arena was made not by a single leader, but by the synchronized brainwaves of an entire team? Imagine players wearing neural headbands, their thoughts and instincts feeding into a central AI that instantly reads the collective intent. Instead of shouting instructions or relying on preset plans, the group's shared focus and emotional state would drive real-time strategy. A surge of confidence could trigger a bold maneuver, while hesitation might prompt a defensive shift. Team chemistry would take on a whole new meaning. Success would depend not just on skill, but on mental harmony. Would teams train to synchronize their minds as much as their bodies, developing exercises to align thoughts and emotions? Could a single distracted or anxious thought throw everything off, causing ripple effects that disrupt the entire plan? Spectators might witness a new kind of drama, the visible ebb and flow of unity and discord, as every mental ripple impacts the outcome. This scenario challenges us to consider how technology could amplify collaboration, blur individuality, and redefine the very nature of teamwork in ways never imagined before. What if, instead of speaking with words, humans communicated entirely through musical notes? Imagine every greeting as a short melody, every argument a clashing symphony, and every love confession a heartfelt ballad. In this world, daily interactions would sound like an endless concert. People would develop their own unique musical signatures, recognizable by rhythm, pitch, and tempo. Misunderstandings could arise from a single off-key note, making emotional nuance and harmony more important than ever. Education would revolve around learning scales and harmonies, while public announcements might resemble grand performances. Art, diplomacy, and storytelling would all be inseparable from music, and cultural identity would be defined by regional melodies. Even silence would carry meaning, like a dramatic pause in a song. Would societies become more empathetic, attuned to the feelings behind each tune? Or would the pressure to compose the perfect phrase stifle spontaneity? In a world where melody replaces speech, communication would become a true art form, shaping every aspect of human connection. What if every lie you told left a visible mark on your skin? Glowing lines, shifting shadows, or vibrant colors that revealed your dishonesty to the world? Imagine walking into a room, your secrets painted across your arms for all to see. Would people become more cautious with their words, weighing each statement before it left their lips? Perhaps society would grow more honest, or maybe deception would evolve, shifting from words to silence or clever half-truths. Relationships might deepen, built on trust that can be seen, not just felt. Or would fear of exposure drive people apart, making them wary of even the smallest white lies? Jobs that rely on persuasion could vanish, replaced by those who value authenticity above all else. Children might learn the value of truth early, seeing the immediate impact of dishonesty etched on their skin. But would this world be kinder or simply more judgmental? If the price of lying was public, Would we lose our ability to protect feelings or keep necessary secrets? In a world where truth is always visible, what would truly matter? Honesty or empathy? Would we find new ways to connect or build walls to hide behind? What if you had the power to vote on every major decision that affects your life? Imagine a world where every law, policy, or local rule was decided not by a select few, but by everyone, directly. At first glance, this sounds like the ultimate empowerment. Every voice matters, and each person helps shape the rules they live by. But what would this mean for decision-making? Would people feel more responsible for outcomes, knowing their vote truly counts? Or would the sheer volume of choices become overwhelming, leading to apathy or rushed judgments? Consider the impact on leadership. Traditional roles of authority might fade, replaced by facilitators who guide discussion rather than dictate action. Debate and compromise could become daily rituals, forging a sense of connection and shared purpose. Yet, real challenges would emerge. Misinformation could spread quickly. Complex issues might be oversimplified, and the time commitment could exhaust many. Still, this radical approach could foster a deeper sense of belonging, as everyone becomes a true participant in shaping their world, redefining power and responsibility in profound ways.
Once upon a twinkling night, Milo tiptoed through his grandmother's attic, eyes wide with curiosity. There, he found a row of paintings, each shimmering with secret colors that seemed to dance in the dim light. One picture showed a grand castle, its towers swirling with purple clouds and golden banners fluttering in an unseen breeze. When Milo reached out, his fingers tingled, and suddenly, whoosh, he slipped right into the painting. Inside, the castle's halls glowed with warm golden light, and the walls whispered ancient stories that tickled his ears. He met a giggling portrait princess who handed him a delicate key made of moonbeams, sparkling softly in his palm. With every door Milo unlocked, he discovered new wonders. A ballroom where butterflies twirled in colorful dances, a kitchen filled with cakes that floated gently in the air, and a library where books opened themselves and read aloud enchanting tales. Milo laughed as a friendly dragon with shimmering scales offered him a ride across the sunlit towers, soaring above clouds that looked like cotton candy. When the adventure grew quiet, the princess waved her wand, and Milo felt himself swirling gently back to the attic, his heart full of magical memories. As he nestled into bed, Milo wondered what other paintings might hold, knowing that every brushstroke could be a doorway to a new and wondrous adventure.
What if every lie you told left a visible mark on your skin? Glowing lines, shifting shadows, or vibrant colors that revealed your dishonesty to the world. Imagine walking into a room, your secrets painted across your arms for all to see. Would people become more cautious with their words, weighing each statement before it left their lips? Perhaps society would grow more honest, or maybe deception would evolve, shifting from words to silence or clever half-truths. Relationships might deepen, built on trust that can be seen, not just felt. Or would fear of exposure drive people apart, making them wary of even the smallest white lies? Jobs that rely on persuasion could vanish, replaced by those who value authenticity above all else. Children might learn the value of truth early, seeing the immediate impact of dishonesty etched on their skin. But would this world be kinder or simply more judgmental? If the price of lying was public, would we lose our ability to protect feelings or keep necessary secrets? In a world where truth is always visible, what would truly matter? Honesty or empathy? Would we find new ways to connect or build walls to hide behind? What if you had the power to vote on every major decision that affects your life? Imagine a world where every law, policy, or local rule was decided not by a select few, but by everyone, directly. At first glance, this sounds like the ultimate empowerment. Every voice matters, and each person helps shape the rules they live by. But what would this mean for decision-making? Would people feel more responsible for outcomes, knowing their vote truly counts? Or would the sheer volume of choices become overwhelming, leading to apathy or rushed judgments? Consider the impact on leadership. Traditional roles of authority might fade, replaced by facilitators who guide discussion rather than dictate action. Debate and compromise could become daily rituals, forging a sense of connection and shared purpose. Yet, real challenges would emerge. Misinformation could spread quickly. Complex issues might be oversimplified, and the time commitment could exhaust many. Still, this radical approach could foster a deeper sense of belonging, as everyone becomes a true participant in shaping their world, redefining power and responsibility in profound ways. What if you could instantly share your memories with someone else, experiencing their moments as vividly as your own? This new frontier could revolutionize how we connect, allowing empathy to reach unparalleled heights. Imagine understanding a colleague's perspective by reliving their experiences firsthand, or teaching new skills by transferring memories instead of instructions. But would privacy vanish as memories become commodities? Would we lose our unique individuality or discover deeper bonds? The possibilities are as thrilling as they are unsettling. What if you could physically remove your stress and store it outside your body, like placing heavy luggage in a locker? Imagine walking into a room after a tough day, pulling out an invisible thread of tension from your mind and placing it into a container. Suddenly, your shoulders relax, your thoughts clear, and your heartbeat steadies. How would this ability change your daily life? Relationships might flourish, as irritability and impatience could be set aside before family dinners or important meetings. Workplaces could provide stress storage stations, transforming office culture and boosting productivity. But what happens to all that stored stress? Would cities need facilities to safely handle and neutralize it, like emotional recycling plants? Could stored stress be transformed into something useful, or would it pose new risks if mishandled or accumulated? Would we become less resilient, knowing we could always offload discomfort? Or would we finally experience what it's like to live unburdened, free to explore our full potential without the constant weight of anxiety pressing down? This possibility invites us to rethink how we relate to our inner struggles and the very nature of emotional balance. What if ancient giants suddenly reappeared on Earth? Picture enormous figures looming over city skylines, reshaping landscapes with each step. Humanity would face unprecedented challenges, governments rushing to protect populations, scientists scrambling to understand these towering beings, and societies forced to rethink architecture, safety, and even diplomacy. Would we see them as threats or as wonders from a forgotten era? Cultural beliefs and old stories might gain new significance, sparking debates in unity or division. The world would never look the same again.